Today, we're going to talk about transformations, agile transformations, and DevOps transformations. And if you're watching this screen, if you're watching this stream, there's a good chance that you are in one of these, either an agile or DevOps transformation. And unfortunately, I have some bad news for you. But before we go to that, I want to talk about an experience that I've had together with some colleagues of mine at a large European bank, let's say one of the top 5 banks in Europe. We were in a transformation 3 years, and we saw both Agile and DevOps transformations failing. We saw leadership not being aligned on purpose. We saw teams focusing on workarounds instead of solving root causes. We saw dependency hell everywhere. A lot of things that were supposed to be released continuously, that were supposed to be brought to market quickly, it didn't happen because there were too many dependencies on other tribes and departments. We saw that the structure of the organization as well as the incentives were set up against the transformation. And finally, we saw simply the culture and mindset lacking. Many transformations are set up to fail. In fact, research has been done on this topic. So here are some examples. 70% of agile transformations fail to meet their objectives. 2 researchers, they both came to the same number by Boston Consultancy Group and McKinsey. An earlier research by Boston Consultancy Group had the number even higher, so there seems to be some improvement. But again, the majority of these agile transformations fail. Also interesting is that, and this was research by McKinsey, 90% of successful transformations are holistic. So if you're right now in an agile transformation, which is not holistic, right? So let's say it's only the software development teams that are in the transformation, not management, not the business, not other IT or whatever, the supporting departments. Well, you have bad luck because the chance that your transformation will be successful would be around 3%. So I'm Farid. I'm a Global People and Organization Agile Transformation Lead at Siemens. And I welcome you to this presentation. And I want to talk with you about these transformations. Why do they fail, and what can we do about it? What can we do to create a high-performing organization that succeeds in these transformations? Because the reality is these transformations are failing, and what often happens is that companies will try again and again until they finally succeed. At this bank, together with 2 colleagues, we really start to research this. We were perplexed at how many levels they were not succeeding. And we started to create our own system, a system that would tackle this. So Tom McGuire from the UK and Guy van Put from Belgium, we started to create this system, which we call the Align system, to tackle and to look at what are the root causes of these transformations failing and what can we do to make them successful. And we came up with the Align framework, and I'm going to show you some of the elements. So not all, but some of the elements. And the first one is what you see here, which is this pyramid. And as you can see, it starts with purpose, structure, culture, processes, and tools. And when you build a pyramid, what always happens is that you start at the bottom. You start at the purpose level, and then you go to structure, and you build up. But what the reality is that often we do it the wrong way. So we start with tools. For example, okay, we're in this agile transformation. Let's get a test. Let's improve our testing. Let's get an agile testing tool. But it's not working because the processes are not agile. So the teams are not doing continuous testing. They still have to deal with an environment where they have all these big releases. Um, they, the processes are simply not. Everything is still based around these big releases upfront. And the reason for that is the culture is lacking. There simply is no culture. The mindset is not there. People are still the teams are not really empowered. They don't have trust. So we have to have all these gates to make sure that everything is safe before we move ahead. And the culture is not really changing. Is not changing. And when we're talking about culture, we often talk about but when the teams are not end-to-end, when we don't have cross-functional teams, when there are still managers above the teams that call the shots instead of an empowered team, when we have these structures that are very much focused on own departments instead of being holistic, the culture will also not change. There is a saying which is culture, most people will notice, culture eats strategy. Another saying which is structure eats culture for lunch. And the structure is not changing because the purpose is not really there. The purpose is not truly felt. There is not, at the highest level, there is not a realization what an agile transformation really means. And there's not a commitment to make it happen. And so what should happen, first of all, purpose needs to be absolutely clear. The purpose needs to be believed. And you could almost say that leadership should make a blood oath to make sure that this transformation succeeds. As a result, no one dares to touch the structure. Now, changing the structure is really challenging. It's really hard. We might have to talk with unions or workers' councils. We might have to change things and change organizations. But it's key to make a transformation succeed. And even if, because of legal reasons or unions or workers' councils, it seems impossible to change the structure, at least you can create virtual structure. Something like flight plans is a good example. If you're interested in that, there's still a way to reorganize without getting into trouble with legal or with councils. But the important thing is we need to have aligned structure. And once you have the structure in place, the culture will almost exist naturally. Like I like to say, if the structure is right, then an agile culture will exist almost out of itself. We don't even need agile coaches to support. And once we have an agile culture, then we will also change the processes in the right way. And we will start to create those agile processes we need, and that will result in us picking the right tools for our processes. Most companies in an agile transformation focus on this part. They focus on the culture, they focus on the processes and on the tools, but they wonder, why is it not working? Why are our processes still that we have to do 100 things before we can release something? Why is our culture not one of exploration, not one of why are we not customer centric? And the reason for that is because the purpose is not clear, it's not felt, it's not lived, and as a result, our structures do not support us to achieve these cultural changes and the process changes. And so some elements of the Align system are, for example, changing the structure. And here we are looking at what kind of structure do we want? Well, what we want is holistic structures. So holistic teams, end-to-end teams that can truly deliver on their own. The most successful teams are holistic. We want holistic departments, whether you call them tribes or departments or even agile release train, I don't care. But they need to have all the people to be able to deliver the product. And we need everyone there. That's kind of like a sort of a lean stand-up, a lean startup. We can deliver what our customer wants. So if that means that development operations is there, obviously our system is based on DevOps, but also marketing, finance, HR, whatever is needed, we should have it. Another essential element is that we measure ourselves continuously. And this goes into how do we move forward and lead our company. And there we use the Accelerate metrics. And you might have read the book Accelerate, where these are coming from. Many of our elements of our system are based on already existing best practices, and this is one that's included. And that means, these metrics mean that we look at performance, at operational excellence and customer centricity continuously. So we look at change lead time. How long does it take for an idea to get to market? We need to improve that if we want to be more adaptive and more agile. How often do we go to our customer? A number of deployments. But we want to make sure that as we increase our speed, our time to market, that we maintain our quality. So what is our change fill rate? How often does something go wrong? Did we create something, an app that's very difficult to log into, for example? What is our mean time to resolve? If something goes wrong, how quickly can we fix it? Famously, Netflix is a company that they invented the chaos monkeys and the chaos gorillas, which basically the chaos monkeys are continuously testing how quickly they fix an element of their software, and the chaos gorillas are actually taking down entire network centers, and they make themselves resilient in that way. How quickly can we fix if something goes wrong? And then we, of course, need to figure out what does our customer want. How satisfied is our customer? So we look at something like Net Promoter Score and adoption rate. Do people value what we bring out, and are they actually using it? And when you have these metrics, you have the full scope. We know that we are very fast. We know that the stuff we bring out has high quality, and we know whether or not our customer likes it. And these metrics are far more important than all these interviews and surveys, agile survey, what is the quality of your backlog, how many people have done agile training, all these things, they don't matter. This matters. If you want to know how agile your organization is, this will tell you how quickly you can bring something to your customer. Is the customer happy? And is it of high quality? And leadership needs to be obviously aligned. In our framework, we call these leaders business agility leads. And these leads are, I would say, managers 3.0. They are not focused on the content, they are focused on the system. And so when we talk about an aligned system or the system within your company, leaders should focus on improving the system continuously, relentlessly, while empowered and self-managing teams within that system actually create value for the customers. And so these leaders continuously, how are we doing? And they should look at, okay, where are we failing? What elements, services are not delivering satisfaction within our organization? And they should look at this pyramid and see, okay, where is the root cause? Is it the tooling, or are our processes not aligned to the tooling? Or is it the mindset that is missing? Again, when we're talking about agile testing, for example, an agile testing tool, Do we actually have the mindset within the company for real agile testing, continuously testing, putting something out in the market? Do we use best practices like the test-driven development, behavior-driven development? Is everything there? And then in order to improve, we add what we call the theory of constraints. And the theory of constraints is basically a way to continuously improve your organization. We look at where is this part of the problem that is most constraining us. So maybe it's something in the structure. Where is the biggest issue we have? What is stopping us the most? And that is what leaders should focus on, to remove that constraint so that we can fix it and continue looking at the next issue. And this is something which is key to our system. It is of the highest importance that we continuously look at these levels within the pyramid, find where we are going wrong and fix that problem. Because if you do that, what you will create is a machine. And a machine, a system that works as a machine is far more powerful than a group of managers that tries to manage things and get into the content. Because a machine, let's say your company or your organization is so fast to market and they can maintain quality and their customers are satisfied. It doesn't matter what strategy they follow. It doesn't matter whether or not they have the right product. If a competitor comes with a product that's better, they will be able to deliver the same type of product or even better in a very fast time, and they will develop that product in something that is much better, much faster than their competition. In many organizations, we see leadership obsessed with strategy. Are we doing the right things? Not saying that's not important, it's very important. But to have a system that is fast, that is of high quality, is far more important. That's often forgotten. And so we have a number of things within our framework to help the organization, because many frameworks are going into, okay, how do I organize? What kind of teams do I make? Do I have, I don't know, do I use solution trains, agile release trains, or do I have something like the Spotify framework with tribes? Our system doesn't really go into that. We believe that if you continuously look at your biggest problem and fix them, you'll eventually end up with the best organization. What we do look at is some best practices and some tools that will help you to create customer value and that will help you to focus on the right things. So we have these interaction cycles that we see here. And so at the highest level, we look at a hypothesis, then we go into realization, and finally into user interaction. And we use 4 maps, which are best practices from the DevOps world and from the wider agile and strategic world in order to enable that. And at the highest strategic level, that is Wardley. And Wardley mapping is a strategy mapping exercise where we map out basically where we are in terms of our strategy, in terms of our product offerings. Are we delivering completely new products that are uncharted? Are we delivering products that are a commodity? And we put these on a map and we move these in a way so that we can get more value for our customers. I do not have time to explain this entire map. I would advise you to Google this after. It's a very interesting way that will quickly make you realize where at a strategic level the company needs to go. A level below that, we look at impact mapping. So when we know which kinds of elements of our organization we need to focus on, because that will bring us the highest value, we look at within the goals that we need to achieve our targets, we look at where can we make the most impact. So an impact mapping is truly a way to, at a high level, and this is between the tactical and strategic level, focus on the right things. Where can we make impact for our customers? What is the most important thing to focus on now? And once we have this, once we know what to focus on, the direction, then we go into user story mapping. And user story mapping in many ways is sort of the agile replacement of the traditional project planning. Here we look at what we are going to do, what are the user stories, and what are the tasks that we need to do to create customer value. And we divide these over a customer journey and into MVPs so that we can go quickly into the market. And then finally, at the user interaction level, we make absolutely certain that everything that we deliver to our customer is of high quality and is exactly what they're asking for. And example mapping, which is a BDD, a behavior-driven development practice, is here the method to do this. Example mapping goes into for specific examples to make sure that between our customer and our development team, there is complete clarity on what needs to be done. Okay. Thank you all for joining. Together, me and my colleagues, Guy and Tom, we very much would like to inform you if you have an interest in this framework, in this system. And if you want any information on this, I would ask that you look at the alignsystem.online, which is our website, where we would love to give you some more information. If there is one thing, one key takeaway in this presentation, I would say what we have seen in agile transformation, a lot of companies are focused on trying to implement a framework, trying to implement some complex way of reorganizing their organization. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have to do that. You absolutely have to do that, but you have to have a system in place that continuously checks whether you're on the right path. And using those metrics, using tried and tested ways like continuously searching for the highest problem in the theory of constraints, using some of the elements from our framework, I believe, is key in making a transformation successful. Thank you for joining us, and I wish you good luck and a lot of fun and learnings in the other session coming up during this DASA Connect. Thank you.